Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
I have something very exciting to tell everybody. The KARP law firm won the 2019 Community Choice Award for the best law firm in Palm Beach County. And of course, I always knew that he was the best law firm, that they were the best law firm. But now the whole world knows it. So good morning, Joe.
Good morning. At least your listeners and the people who read the Palm Beach Post feel that way, and that's a good thing. It was nice. I mean, people who read the Palm Beach Post were asked to vote. First of all, I don't even know who nominated us. There were a bunch of nominees, and then they asked readers to vote in online as to who they wanted as the best for certain categories. And we were selected. Then they narrowed it down to 3, and there were 3 finalists. And Tuesday night, the KARP law firm was voted the best law firm in Palm Beach County by the people who participated. And that was nice that people cared enough about us to recognize that we cared enough about them that they voted for us. And that was cool.
Yeah, it was great.
That was good. My son John and I were there on behalf of the firm.
Oh, well, that was really nice to have your son there with you.
And he went up and took the award and the plaque, and that was nice.
Yes, I know that how much you enjoyed that because you were so thrilled that your son has joined the law firm. I know when he was much, much younger, I used to say to you, okay, Joe, so what are you going to do with your law firm when you decide to not retire but kind of ease off? And you said, well, hopefully one of my sons would like to come in, and darn if it didn't work.
Yes, it did. So good morning, and for those of your listeners who cast votes, I appreciate it and thank you.
Okay.
And just as an aside to your last speaker, we are in Port St. Lucie. We've been there for over 15 years, and we've seen it grow and develop. And just for the people who are feeling too crowded, that there's too much stuff going on where you are, Port St. Lucie is a viable alternative for a slower lifestyle. You're not going to have, 300 activities in the clubhouse and stuff, but you're also not going to probably pay probably darn close to twice as much for your home. So life's a trade-off.
Yeah.
So it's a Tradition is a nice area. We're in St. Lucie West, which puts us about 10 minutes away from Tradition. So good place for people who are saying, this is too much, this is too crowded, but I don't want to go to Ocala. You know?
Right. I want to stay in sunny South Florida, right?
So if your listeners are there and they're my clients, don't worry. You won't have to drive to Boynton Beach or Palm Beach Gardens to see us, although you may want to come down. We do have bigger and better malls down here.
Right. That's true. So that's a good thing to say. Wow. All right. Well, let's talk about why you, of course, became so famous, your law firm, because you do such great things. And the one thing that people have always talked about you is that you are truly a counselor. You really do counsel people when they come in. Sometimes people just think, I just want to trust. I just want to I just want something fast. And by the time they leave, they understand it's a much bigger issue.
Yeah, people have to understand that they don't always know what they need. So when they say they want something, I always sit down, and every lawyer in my firm, I've mentored everybody, and Adele is with me 14 years, and she is solidly mentored, but even the younger ones, in terms who have been here less, know that our job is not to fill out a form, basically, that the clients have preordained that is what they need. And we sit down and we counsel them, and we try to find out what they're trying to accomplish and why, and tell them what is the best methodology for that. Interestingly enough, I had a lady and her daughter in my office yesterday in Port St. Lucie, and the husband has questionable longevity.
What does that mean?
And he's going to die soon, maybe 3 months, 4 months.
Oh, my.
Maybe he'll live 6 months, but he has questionable longevity. His life expectancy, based upon his current condition, is limited. And they came in to meet with me because we need to get Medicaid for my husband. And they met with another lawyer, and he told them what he would do and what it would cost. And I said, well, let's analyze your situation. The bulk of he makes, seriously, between his pension, his Social Security, he makes $6,000 a month. He has a $400,000 IRA, and they have maybe $20,000 in regular money in a paid-off house. And I discussed, first of all, his longevity. What's his likelihood of living longer? And they said maybe 4 months, maybe 6. We don't think he has that long to live. And I said, let me tell you why you don't want Medicaid. And their eyes popped open. I said, here's the story. In St. Lucie, the nursing homes are cheaper than they are in Palm Beach County. It'll run between $8,000 and $9,000 a month. His income is going to go to the nursing home. So you're saving about $2,000 to $3,000 a month if you get Medicaid. And what the other lawyer had told them to do, because his IRA would have to pay him his money and then go to the nursing home as well, his required minimum distributions. I said, the other lawyer told them to cash in the IRA and give the money to the wife. And that is a legitimate method, but not a very bright one. They said, well, why shouldn't we do it? I said, well, you're going to cash in $400,000. Your income tax on that will be, if we're modestly deciding it, $100,000, 25%. I'm not even going to make it higher, 25%. We can then make all that money yours, and he can qualify for Medicaid. So you want to save $2,000 to $3,000 a month for 3 to 6 months, so maximum $18,000, at a cost of $100,000, not counting legal fees, because when you cash in his IRA, that's done. I said, you don't want Medicaid. That is not an appropriate vehicle for you. Or was the other lawyer wrong when he said he could get us Medicaid? I said, no, he was wrong in telling you you should get Medicaid. You could get Medicaid, but it's economically not feasible. It's a bad decision. Now, if your husband had his legs run over by a bus and he couldn't walk and he needed to be in a nursing home and you thought he was going to be living 10 years or 3 years or something like that, we could have a serious conversation of the pro and con, but this is a no-brainer. You don't do it. So again, what we do is, even on things, forgetting about just trust and wills and what they should say, even on things like that, we say what sounds good is not always the right thing for you because it might be economically detrimental. So when people come to us about Medicaid planning and they say they want Medicaid, I always say, and all my attorneys always say the following: no, what you want is the best possible care for the least possible cost. And the cost isn't what you're writing to the nursing home necessarily. It's all of the other economics. All of the other economics. The same thing with what goes into somebody's estate plan. I had somebody in that has been living with the same lady for 40 years. They're not married, and she does not have much. And he doesn't want to, quote, leave her any money because her kids are not particularly good. So I don't want to leave her money so she can leave it to her kids. And I said, well, how much money would you give her? He said, give her $100,000. And that's a lot for both of them. But I think she may die when I die because I've been her best partner through life. And I'm afraid she's always been good to her kids. I support her effectively because her Social Security, she's always got an expense that her children need the money. And I said, well, why don't you leave $100,000 in a trust for her and let her get $1,000 a month? And he said, oh, that would be so much work for my nephew, pain in the neck. He's got to manage the investments. I said, no, don't put down that it has to be in a traditional portfolio that you should be doing. I said, we can say in the trust, this money shall not be held in that fashion. It'll be held in money markets, CDs, or checking accounts, and that the income that it earns is irrelevant. It should not be placed in a risk factor. Then all he has to do is write a check once a month for $1,000 and mail it out. And the day after she dies, her kids won't get any of that money because the leftovers go to your nieces and nephews. And he said, perfect.
Mm.
He said, why didn't I think of that? I said, because you just think there's only one way to do it, and you didn't want to do it that way.
So, Joe, this is exactly why I'm glad you brought all this up. This is exactly why I said you, of course, have been doing this a long time, but you have a certain side to your brain. Besides being smart and doing the law, you have the way that you think so far into the future, and you do a lot of what ifs. And this was a perfect example of helping someone. So after it's all gone, and they're all, everything has changed, you have given them the opportunity to make it all come out well.
Yeah, and he felt so much better because I said to him, how do you think she's going to feel when you die and she left her nothing? And he said, I'll give her a little bit of time to stay in the house to figure out where she's going to go. He said, I think she'll move in with her daughter. And I said, well, okay. What you can do is she can stay in the house for up to 3 months. The trust will pay for the cost of maintaining the house because she won't have the money. He said the trust will pay for the house. They'll pay all of the utilities, taxes, repairs, and maintenance, and all of the stuff related to the house. And he said, her daughter may try to get her to stay longer. And I said, no, she won't. And she doesn't start getting the $1,000 a month until she's moved out. And he said, oh, she'll have her out the first week. So you come up with right? Because the daughter's going to say, it's only costing them a couple of $100 to keep this place. They're paying the HOA. They're paying the taxes aren't due until April or November or April, depending on how you look at it. It's only costing the trust $500 a month. Hell, move into my place. They'll give you $1,000, and she'll get her the hell out.
Yeah.
So and she won't get it until she moves out. So that'll be the impetus to get her out. And it's just thinking about logical steps, the stuff we do. My son and I talk a lot about that you just sort of have to understand human nature.
Yes.
And when I hire the lawyers that I've brought into the firm, every one of them, my keys are, I know they're smart enough to be lawyers, so I don't worry about whether they can learn what we do if they haven't done it in the past. Do they have sensitivity to humans? Do they care about people? Do they understand human nature? Are they good judges of character? And can they do it forthrightly? I mean, John got hired by a lady that he met with in November. And she said, I got to think about it. And he said, okay, take the fee agreement home. Here's the fee agreement. Here's how you can pay us, and you can mail it back in. She said, I just don't trust anybody. And he said, well, he said, I understand, but you're in a position that you either have to trust yourself in making decisions and trust who you're hiring to do it and trust people that you name to handle it, or trust the court system to name a perfect stranger to handle everything.
Perfect.
Trust the legislature to pass laws.
Right.
And the other day she came by, dropped off the fee agreement, and interestingly enough, dropped off the fee in cash, in crisp $100 bills, not even a check.
Wow.
And he then scheduled a phone, and she got her cash receipt, and the money did go to the bank. We're really kosher. And then he spoke to her yesterday over the phone to now firm up what she wanted to do based upon what she thought she wanted to do. And he said, I'm very happy because you said you don't trust people, and I guess that means you trust me. And she said, trust you? I paid you in cash. I couldn't trust you any more than that.
I love it.
So yeah, the lawyers in our firm always try to understand the people, understand family dynamics, understand that your daughter-in-law may be a creep and might try to get the money from your son, and that you don't want her to get it. And we talk about your situation. Everybody who comes in understands, even when they have lots of money and taxes are still an issue, that estate planning is all about people. It's all about people.
And Joe,
What
let me just stop you to announce everyone. Sometimes you get started talking and I don't get a chance to just talk a little bit. That this is Joe KARP. It's really Joseph S. KARP, and he is a he is a nationally certified and Florida bar certified senior law attorney, an elder law attorney. And you specialize, of course, in the practice of trusts, estates, and elder law. Now, let me give everyone a phone number if you need to call them. The toll-free number from anywhere is 800-893-9911. Again, I'm going to repeat that. Remember, I always say this is Pencil Talk Radio. Get your pencils. It's 800-893-9911. And you can get on their website, which is KARP Law, KARPLAW.com, KARPLaw.com. So I just have to interrupt you just to make sure everybody knows who they're listening to. Many people, of course, have been listening. And I just have to say this, Joe, was interesting. I went to a new theater that opened, very small theater. So I was sitting next to a woman and her husband. And I said something to the person I was with. She said, "Oh, you're Anita Finley, aren't you?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I listen to you every Saturday morning. I've listened to you for years. I get up at 5 and start at 5. And she says, and I love your guests. And the reason I'm here in the theater is because you mentioned how good it was." So that's why I have to always mention people so that people really understand who's on this radio show on Saturday morning.
Well, that does make sense, and I do appreciate it. And I have been on your radio show. The only one on your radio show longer than me is you.
Oh, Joe, that's great. I love that. I'll have to use that. Okay, everybody. I'm the person that's been on this show longer than any of my other people, advertisers, except for Joe KARP, who was one of my very first advertisers, and he's still with us.
It's amazing with some of the people that I've met through your radio show, and I won't mention any names, but the number of them that I represented who have gone on to the great beyond, that I am now representing their children who are down here.
Yep.
They have passed the baton to our firm, and I'm passing, and within the firm, I'm passing the baton around so the other younger lawyers can do more and more. And it gives the clients, at first they were a little apprehensive. I should be meeting with you. And I say, well, no, you're hiring a law firm. You want to know that there'll be somebody there after you. I know a lawyer who is just announced to me that he's retiring February 28th, and he has an office very close to mine in Boynton Beach. And I said, well, what's happening with your practice? He said, well, I've sold it to somebody else.
Mm.
And that somebody else may be very good and very nice. But I know that my clients would rather stay with the same people, with the same notes, with the same mindset,
Yeah.
and that they'd rather be where there's continuity. And therefore, when there's continuity, you don't want surprises. You want to meet the next generation of the leadership. Who will your children and grandchildren be dealing with? And that's very important.
Yes.
Because if you're counting on one guy or one lady, if we do estate planning, what we have to say is realistically, who's going to be there when you're not? Well, I haven't figured out who I'm going to sell it to yet. No, we've got a system in place. We have a mindset in place. Yeah, the baton is getting passed early, so that other people are handling your affairs.
Well, let me add to what you've just said. The nice thing is when you do work with Joe KARP, his law firm, when you're finished, you walk away with a beautiful notebook of all the documents. Then they're updated on a 3-year basis, but you really have something. So if something should happen, your family can go into their file cabinet, wherever you tell them you keep it, and it's all there. And I've used this, Joe, when my wonderful husband passed away. I had everything, and what I didn't have or I couldn't find, your office supplied it.
Yeah, and the other thing we do now that's different than we did 20 years ago is when people hire us now, people always used to say, my daughter and son need copies of everything, right? They need copies of everything. And I'd say, they don't need it, they don't want it. Trust me. But now, do you know what we give them? We give them a flash drive of their documents. Say, download it into your computer, email it to your kids, make sure they have the copies, especially healthcare. So if your daughter's skiing in Vermont or Colorado and she hears you've been in an accident, she can go to her smartphone, pull up the document, and email it to the emergency room without taking her skis off. So now we keep moving. We keep up with the times. So speaking up with times, why don't we talk about the dates and times of my upcoming workshops?
Oh, I'd like to know that.
Okay. We are going to be doing, now we have not scheduled our next series after this because I told you we're not going to do them in March. So we haven't picked April yet. But so the next scheduled workshops are Tuesday, February 26th in Boynton Beach at the Courtyard by Marriott. That's on Congress Avenue between Gateway and Boynton Beach Boulevard. We are scheduled to start at 1:30. We start on time. We're scheduled to end at 4. We usually run a few minutes late because we're always having people at the end, they get to ask questions, so they always have more questions. So it's Tuesday, February 26th in Boynton Beach at the Courtyard by Marriott at 1:30. Bring a sweater. That hotel keeps the air conditioning colder than my son keeps it in the house when he's here. Then there's Wednesday, February 27th in Port St. Lucie at the Port St. Lucie Holiday Inn, same time, 1:30 to 4, and that's on US 1 just north of Port St. Lucie Road, the main exit on Port St. Lucie. And then Thursday, February 28th in Palm Beach Gardens at the Marriott Hotel right off PGA Boulevard and RCA Boulevard. Same thing, 1:30 and ends at 4 o'clock. People who attend that will get lots of information, lots of things to open up their eyes. They also are offered a free consultation if we think we can help them. So who couldn't I help? Well, suppose somebody comes in and has a landlord-tenant problem. That's not what we do. Suppose somebody lives in Pennsylvania and they're going back home to Pennsylvania and they're not Floridians, well, I can't practice law where I'm unlicensed. So we always advise them, well, we don't think we can help you. But otherwise, for the most part, most people we think we can help and advise. What they do with that decision is up to them. Now, if some of your listeners don't want to go to the seminar and want an appointment, they can call up and make one, but they're going to pay for it. They will pay $400 for that consultation that they would have gotten for free had they gone to the seminar. And the reason for that, the workshop, we give so much information that when people come in, they understand a lot. They now know where they have questions. They know who we are. We even discuss our fees at the seminar so they know what things are going to cost. So when they come in, it's no surprises. They know who we are because we spent over 2 hours with them. They know what we charge. They know how we think. They've had a chance to sort of touch and scratch and feel us.
Okay, well, I'd like to touch and scratch and feel you too, but unfortunately, we've run out of time, Joe. It's been a great interview. Congratulations again on being something I knew you always were, the best law firm in Palm Beach County. So thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much, Anita. Have a great day.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.